Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gurudev Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Shila Satchidaranda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dasharaghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Shri Hairas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Bhadata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shyama Kund Ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shimar Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Bhakti Balavatirtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shimar Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Swaparshad Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Vo Dandavat Pranam, Madhavi Didi, Raj Bhuvan Yadav, Rup Manjari Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Haribo. So we are going to read from, because I didn't get a chance, I only read a short thing last night before I went to sleep, but that wasn't adequate. And so I want to read something more about the glories of Srila Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Goswami Maharaj. So we're reading from something written by Shripad Siddhanti Maharaj, or Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaj, and I'm guessing also Madhav Priya Prabhu, but he never puts his name anywhere, so might have even been mostly Madhav Priya Prabhu, who knows. But so we're going to write something that they wrote for the Hindi Bhagavata Patrika, which they published over a few issues. And we'll just read until the time is up. There's so many different parts to it, and so yeah, I'll just see how far we get in it. And you can find this all on vcvani.com if you want to read the rest. I don't think we'll be able to read all of it. And then as soon as I finish reading, then I'm going to Mayapur, and I'm going to go for a program there in honor of Srila Bhāratī Maharaj. Starts at 10 o'clock in Mayapur. Okay, so let me share my screen. I'll just show you. This is the Remembrance and Separation series. So there's all these different articles. See, so many different things. It's really long, but we've read some of it before. Yeah. Okay. Śrīmad Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja appeared in an exceedingly affluent and aristocratic Chakravarti Brahmin family on the auspicious Tithi of Sri Shayan Akadashi in Sri Sitaramapur village. That's Bankura district of West Bengal. He appeared on 21/1926 to his parents Sri Vanamali Chakravarti and Srimati Prabhas Manjari Chakravarti. Although Srila Mahāraja's parents and family members were disciples of a Gosai from Nakai Jodi Vishnupur in the lineage of Srinivasacharya, Brahminical principles were given more precedence in his family. Thus, Srila Mahārāja received Brahminical sanskars right from his childhood. And I think for those of you in America, you're following Shayan Akadashi right now, right? So it's still Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhāratī Goswami Mahārāja's appearance day for you. Srila Mahārāja would allude to his childhood in certain contexts. Once, he said, "From the time I became old enough to discern, I can recall that every morning after bathing, etc., it was mandatory to first visit the temple in the residential premises, offer obeisances, and perform parikrama regardless of whether we had to go to school. Until this routine was completed, no other activity was allowed, including even drinking water or eating. Upon entering the temple, after offering obeisances to Sri Gadadhar Shila, the following shloka had to be chanted." Wow, so this is what he's been chanting since his childhood. Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham vishwadharam gaganasadrisham megavaranam vishwadharam gaganasadrisham megavaranam shubhangam Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Bhidhyana Agamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanatam. Salutations, obeisances to Sri Vishnu, who has green appearance, who rests on a serpent, Adishesh, who has a lotus on his navel, and who is the Lord of the Devas, who sustains the universe, who is boundless and infinite like the sky, whose color is like the cloud, bluish, and who has a beautiful and auspicious body, who is the husband of Devi Lakshmi, whose eyes are like a lotus, and who is attainable to the yogis by meditation. Salutation to that Vishnu who removes the fear of worldly existence and who is the Lord of all the three worlds, the lokas. Although for a long time I did not even know the meaning of this shloka, my family members of my Purva ashram required me to memorize it in my childhood by repeatedly uttering it. After reciting the shloka, we would circumambulate the temple thrice and then honor the Charanamrita. Only after that, upon reaching home, my mother, or Thai, my elder sister or aunt, would give us something to eat. After coming to the Math, I got to hear that although Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written about circumambulating the temple thrice, Srila Prabhupada mentions that a person aspiring for devotion to Lord Hari without any ulterior motive should circumambulate the temple 4 times. Oh, and Purva Ashram means the life before joining the Math as a monk, his previous ashram. And I think I shared on Facebook one time this purport where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he goes into great detail about circumambulation and how it's not good to circumambulate only 1 time, and the benefits for circumambulating 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I don't know. He gives so many different references from Shastra about circumambulation. You could probably find it if you're curious to know more. And just type in my name and then type in circumambulation on Facebook. Okay, Upanaya Sanskar at 8 years of age. Let me just check the comments, see everything's working. Dandavat pranam Sudevi Didi. Oh, okay, it was yesterday, huh? Okay, well, yeah, like you said, no harm in observing it again. On big days like this, it's nice to do actually 3 days. The day before, the day of, and the day after glorifications. When I was 8 years old, my father made all the arrangements for my Upanaya Sanskar, the sacred thread ceremony. That day, at home, there was a festive atmosphere. Before the ceremony, a new razor was placed in the barber's hand, who for some time simulated as if he was cutting my hair, until finally he actually shaved it off. I wonder why he did that. The following morning, I was taken to the river to bathe, accompanied by a band of musicians. Shanai, everybody knows what Shanai is. Shanai players were seated outside my house. When I returned from bathing, my old clothes were offered to the barber as per the prevalent custom. After dressing me in a yellow dhoti and a uttariya, upper cloth, I was seated on a wooden slab in a place resembling a mandap, a pavilion. At that time, the priest arrived to make me recite the mantras. Prior to me, the other young boys were made to recite the mantras. Those boys quickly recited them and had their Upanaya Sanskar completed. When my turn came, the priest told me, I will recite the mantra, and you keep saying, Bhadam Bhadam, Bhadam Bhadam, in response. In other words, all right, I will follow, I will accept it. Initially, I complied, but when the priest recited the mantra, Ma Divasvami, I will never rest during the day, I did not say Bhadam Bhadam. Then the priest and other seniors present urged, say Bhadam. I said, I am just a child as of now, so I won't. I said, I'm just a child as of now, so I won't sleep during the day. But what if, at a later date, I become unwell or for some other reason I have to rest during the day? Secondly, my father has always taught me never to take a vow in front of fire, demigods, gurujans, authority figures, priests, etc., if I cannot maintain it. How then can I say Bhadam Bhadam? And he could even understand Sanskrit at that time. He understood that Ma Divasvami means that. I certainly didn't understand that. Wow. So the priest replied, fine then, you utter yata jnana karo bhame, or consciously, to the extent possible, I will certainly follow. Then I began to utter in that particular manner. After that, the priest said, I will never bathe by diving in the water. Again, I denied uttering Bhadam. Then again, the Purohit had to adopt the solution mentioned above in order to move on to the next mantra. In this way, my sacred thread ceremony was very much delayed, and as a result, many people began to complain about the consequent delay in honoring the feast. Nevertheless, with the exception of a few, everyone unanimously and heartily praised me. Now I realize that because of the impressions received from my parents in this birth, as well as those from my previous births, I never readily accepted anything at face value. I would not accept until I could internalize those statements within my conscience after sieving them through the lens of logic, argument, and scriptural evidence. This is all when he was at 8 years old. Man, even I'm not that mature at 33 years old. Okay, acceptance of Harinam and Diksha. Just checking back the comments again. Dandavat Pranam Gargaraji. Srila Maharaj obtains primary education in his village Sri Sitarampur and further education at Pancharula. Subsequently, for some time, he practiced as a private tutor in Pancharula. It was then that Srila Maharaj was first introduced to the Gaudiya Math, having met a few disciples of Śrīmad Bhakti Vichar Jajavar Goswami Maharaj there. And also, Manjari Didi, could you share, your parents were very instrumental, no, your grandparents, I mean, were very instrumental in bringing Srila Bhāratī Maharaj to the Math, right? Could you explain in the comments, just tell what he would say to your mother? That would be. It was then that Srila Maharaj was first introduced to the Gaudiya Math, having met a few disciples of Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Vichar Jajavar Goswami Maharaj there. By the influence of their association, Srila Maharaj began frequenting the Sri Shamananda Gaudiya Math at Medinipur. From time to time, Srila Maharaj obtained darshan of Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Vichar Jajavar Goswami Maharaj, Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj, Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Kumud Santa Goswami Maharaj, Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Goswami Maharaj, and many other disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur at that Math, in that Math. Oh wait, no, that wasn't Srila Bharathi Maharaj. That was Srila Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj. Right? Anyways, no, you can explain. After some time, in 1955, Srila Maharaj arrived at Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math at 86 Rasa Bihari Avenue, Kolkata, situated in a rented apartment, along with a disciple of Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj, Sri Lokanath Brahmachari. Later, Sri Bhakti Surhit Damodar Maharaj, with an objective to hear Harikatha. Srila Maharaj would relate this incident in the following manner. Once, Sri Lokanath Brahmachari took me with him to the Kolkata Math. Prior to coming to the Math, I had read some portions of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hence, upon coming to Kolkata, I would recite some payars. That's the meter of Chaitanya Charitamrita verses. I'd recite some payars of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and stutis and stavas, hymns and verses, in front of the lordships. Seeing me pray like this in front of the lordships daily, Sri Udharan Prabhu told me one day, "You should accept Harinam and Diksha from my godbrother Sri Bhakti Dait Madhav Maharaj." I replied, "I have come here to hear Harikatha from the Gaudiya Math sadhus because I like to hear from them. I have come to understand and learn about the tenets of the philosophy of the Gaudiya Math. However, I have not come to become a sadhu or a resident of the Math. I am still young, healthy, and robust. Why then should I live off the laboriously hard-earned wealth of others simply by accepting the dress of a sadhu instead of earning a livelihood for myself?" I went to Srila Madhav Goswami Maharaj, and while complaining about Sri Udharan Prabhu, I said, "My ears, nose, hands, and all other body parts are still perfectly functional. Yet Sri Udharan Prabhu is suggesting that I shave up and take Harinam and become a bhikshuk, a mendicant." Guru Maharaj replied, "It is not that everyone who accepts Harinam becomes a renunciate. Even grihastas, householders, can accept Harinam and become Vaishnavas. Do not accept Harinam simply on someone's suggestion. Accept it only when you desire yourself. In this way, I continued to stay at the mat for a few days. Each afternoon, I would see everyone doing Harinam on the terrace. Observing this daily practice of theirs, I thought to myself, I'm not habituated to resting during the day. Hence, if I had also received Harinam, even I would have been able to chant Harinam in the afternoons, when there's Sai. Hence, if I had also received Harinam, even I would have been able to chant in the afternoons, when there is time from Katha, Kirtan, and other sevas. Sri Udharan Prabhu had even told me to accept Harinam, but I myself had refused it. Nevertheless, Sri Madhav Goswami Maharaj has said, accept Harinam only when you desire it yourself, not because someone else is saying so. Therefore, now if Sri Udharan Prabhu or anyone else suggests again, I will definitely accept Harinam. Within some time, the news of Sri Madhav Goswami Maharaj giving Harinam on the upcoming Shayan Akadashi fell on my ears. Thus, Sri Udharan Prabhu said to me, look, a wonderful opportunity has presented itself. On the most auspicious day of Sri Shayan Akadashi, Sri Madhav Maharaj will be awarding Harinam. You should accept it. I said, all right, I will accept Harinam then. Cool. So Sri Shayan Akadashi isn't just the day that he appeared in this world, but it's also the day that he got Harinam. Afterwards, one day, Sri Madhav Goswami Maharaj told me, if you do not desire to marry, thus entering into the sangsar, then it is best to accept Harinam. I replied, when Sri Udharan Prabhu informed me about Harinam being awarded on Shayan Akadashi, at that moment itself, I had resolved to accept it on that day. But I will not shave my head and beg alms. Bhiksha. Sri Madhav Goswami Maharaj said, there are many different sevas in the mat. If you don't wish to beg alms, don't do it. Anyhow, that auspicious moment arrived on Sri Shayan Akadashi, when Guru Maharaj, first of all, was to give some instructions before awarding Harinam. On that day, an elderly couple had also accepted Harinam. So making them an instrument, Guru Maharaj gave many instructions about food and lifestyle, and then, one by one, awarded mantras to all. Later, when I was alone in Guru Maharaj's quarters, I inquired, making that old couple an instrument, you mentioned many rules to be followed by a Harinam aspirant. Are those rules exempt for a youth like me, since you did not directly instruct me on them? Guru Maharaj said, just by seeing you, I feel that you do not indulge in any prohibited activities. That is why I did not say anything to you. Regardless, I feel that along with Harinam, you should also accept Diksha. Hearing this from Guru Maharaj, I was slightly taken aback because until then I wasn't aware that Harinam and Diksha were two different things. I said, I didn't know that Harinam and Diksha are two different things. However, you do whatever you deem appropriate. I have firm faith that you are my well-wisher, and whatever you do will bring me topmost auspiciousness. After awarding Harinam and Diksha, when Guru Maharaj chanting the mantras 12 times during the 3 sandhyas, I said, Guru Maharaj, ever since I received the Upanayanam Samskar at the age of 8, I have been chanting the Brahma Gayatri 10 times. So should I chant that mantra 12 times as well? Guru Maharaj said, scriptures say that Gayatri mantra can be chanted either 10, 12, or 18 times. Hence, it can be chanted any number of times as mentioned above. Since you are already habituated to chanting 10 times, you can chant all the Gayatri mantras 10 times. Although all my god brothers and god sisters chant all the Gayatri mantras 12 times, as per Guru Maharaj's advice, I kept a vow to chant all the mantras 10 times only. think I chant them only 10 times also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. I also only chant 10 times. That's... At the end of awarding Diksha, Guru Maharaj gave me a mantra sheet and an approximately paid booklet titled Sadhan Sanket and said, to the extent possible, follow the Jai Vani and all other details mentioned in this book every day. Oh yeah, and I'm supposed to send Sri Bhagavata slowly repeated chapter. I'll do that today. Yeah. Service of writing letters. About 3 to 4 days after having received Harinam and Diksha, Guru Maharaj called for me and handing out a blank piece of paper and a pen, he requested me to write the following on it, in both Bengali and English. Om Vishnupad Ashtarashat Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada and Sri Sri Guru Gaurango Jayata. Feeling that my hands were unreadable, Guru Maharaj, you do not wish to shave the head on a beg alms. That is not an issue. From today, you will pen down letters dictated by me. Conversation. Mostly every day, Guru any letters to me. Those were the days when Guru Maharaj had started preaching independently and separated from Sri Sri Then he would receive frequent letters. After sifting through them, he received many letters. By virtue of reading those letters, I had the opportunity of becoming privy to the innermost confidential thoughts and moods of Guru Maharaj's heart, as well as to assimilate the conceptions of the tenets of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. See, did Rup Manjari Didi reply? Okay. Okay, sorry, I was confused. Okay, so Rup Manjari Didi. Srila Bharatīmār Maharaj spent a lot of time with Rup Manjari's great-grandfather in Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, but he didn't have anything to do with bringing him. Rup Manjari's great-grandparents were taking Diksha and sponsoring a feast at Yogapit the day Srila Param Gurudev happened to visit, and that's why Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada was there. So Srila Param Gurudev always credited them with the good fortune of meeting Jagat Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada, but that was his great affection for them. Okay. It's breaking, huh? I'm sorry about that, guys. Has it been breaking a lot? Like, has it been difficult to follow? Let me see. Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Let's see, what's the connection? We gotta do a speed test. Am I downloading anything? No. Huh. Let's see. Okay, it just started and now it's better. Okay, that's good. Okay, so let's read the next one. Severing the hard knots in my heart. Oops. Severing the hard knots in my heart. I've never seen that picture before. Wow, amazing. Srila Bhakti Dait Madhava Goswami Maharaj. Srila Bharatīmāra Maharaj. Okay. When I accepted shelter at the lotus feet of Guru Maharaj and joined Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math as a full-time brahmachari, I still possessed many heart-binding knots in the form of strong impressions I had nurtured due to my birth in a Brahmin family. However, Guru Maharaj effortlessly and tactfully cut all such knots, thereby making me thoroughly realize the meaning of the following verse. Tato dusangam utsrija satsu sajeta buddhimang santa evasya chindanti mano vyasanga uktibi. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:26-26. An intelligent person should reject detrimental association and associate instead with saintly persons. This because only saintly personalities with their powerful and virtuous instructions can cut his unholy material attachments from the heart. In cutting these knots, Guru Maharaj demonstrated his limitless compassion, unrelenting tolerance, and thorough understanding of the intrinsic meanings of the statements of the scriptures. While living at home prior to joining the Math, I accepted prasad only if someone born in a caste Brahmin family had cooked it, offered it to Bhagavan, and then served it, and not otherwise. While remaining at home, I maintained this practice even after 6 years of associating with the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. When I later joined the Math, Guru Maharaj, being fully aware of my habits, engaged only the Brahman-born brahmacharis in the services of cooking, deity worship, serving prasad, and charnamrita, etc. during the first 5 years of my stay. Wow! During that time, I accepted prasadam alone, away from everyone else. Guru Maharaj had therefore arranged for a Brahman-born brahmachari to daily deliver prasad to my room. I would honor whatever quantity of prasad was served on my plate in the first helping, without ever accepting a second helping. I considered that after taking my first bite, the remaining prasad would become uchishta, remnant, and thus not suitable for consumption. Therefore, in order to keep the contents of the plate pure, I would hold the plate with my left hand and keep a blade of kusha grass pressed between my thumb and the plate. Also, I would maintain complete silence while honoring prasad. If someone ever called out my name during that time, I would immediately stop accepting prasad, as I considered that person to have touched me through the medium of sounds, thus leaving me in an impure state and hence unsuitable for honoring prasad. Oh my God. Furthermore, I considered it contemptible to even set foot on any land belonging to a teli, an oil merchant, a shaha, a businessman from the Vaishya community, or goldsmith, let alone accept prasad at such places. That is a really high standard, my goodness. I joined the Math full-time in 1955 after Guru Maharaj established Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math in a rented property at 86A Rasbihari Avenue in Kolkata. There, Guru Maharaj indirectly addressed me by saying, "It is true that the Vedas advise one to abstain from useless conversation, maintain complete silence, and remember Bhagavan at the time of honoring prasad. The followers of Srimad Mahaprabhu, however, know the following statements to be more significant than simply remembering Bhagavan by mind. Parang Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. May Shri Krishna Sankirtan be all victorious. And Kirtaniya Sadahari. Always perform kirtan of the names of Shri Hari. And Harer Nam, Harer Nam, Harer Nameva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatir Anyata. The only means of deliverance in the age of Kali is to chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names of Shri Hari. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way." The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, therefore, relish singing the glories of both Bhagavan and Mahaprasad at the time of honoring prasad. They do not speak about mundane topics, but use that time most suitably. After hearing these words from Guru Maharaj and deliberating on them for a few days, I concluded that performing kirtan is indeed greatly superior to observing silence while accepting prasad. And from then on, although I still sat alone, I began performing kirtan while accepting prasad. Sometime later, by Guru Maharaja's boundless mercy, the realization that all the devotees of Srimad Mahaprabhu used to accept prasad together manifested within my heart. I therefore resolved not to deprive myself of the association of the Vaishnavas, and thus began to sit with the devotees while accepting prasad. Due to this, my self-imposed restriction of accepting prasad only from the hands of a Brahman-born devotee was also dissolved, and the glories of Mahaprasad began to manifest within my heart all more. Thereafter, I accepted whatever Mahaprasad was served by initiated devotees. One day, while honoring prasad, a devotee who was serving a second helping misinterpreted the gesture of my hand, indicating the amount of prasad I required, and questioning, "Why don't you speak anything?" He served me a larger quantity of prasad than I desired. Feeling annoyed, I stopped eating and immediately left. However, later I considered that because the Vaishnavas are objects of our service, it is inappropriate to not respond to their queries properly. Thus, I completely renounced my practices of maintaining silence while honoring prasad, as well as honoring only one serving of prasad. Isn't it amazing how every action that Srila Bharatīji Maharaj, everything that he did was so carefully contemplated on and followed through, like in a really, this is just so inspiring to read, how deliberately he did every single action. In Jagannath Puri, I observed that there was no conception of uchishta in relation to Mahaprasad, and therefore my practice of touching kusha grass to the plate while honoring prasad also faded away. Once during Navadvip Dham Parikrama, the entire Parikrama party gathered below a large pipal tree that grew on the land of an oil merchant. There, flat rice was soaked, mixed with jaggery, tamarind, and other ingredients, and then served out to everyone as prasad. Normally, Shri Achintya Govinda Prabhu, Shri Vishnu Das Prabhu, and I would serve prasad to the sannyasis and matvasis, along with some other devotees. After everyone finished honoring prasad, the devotees who were engaged in serving prasad then honored prasad themselves. I had somehow, with a heavy heart, set foot on the land of the oil merchant, even though I considered it highly disgraceful to do so. But I did so while remembering the kirtan by Sri Narottam Das Thakur, which I had heard from the lotus lips of Guru Maharaj. Shri Goda Mandala Bhumi Je Bajane Chintamani Tar Hoy Praja Bhumi Vas. One who knows the land of Shri Godamandal to be spiritual touchstone certainly attains residence in the land of Vraj. I also remember the statement of Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. It is impossible even for the world's wealthiest man to purchase just one particle of the Dham's transcendental dust. Reassuring myself by meditating on these words, I managed to overcome my reservation about stepping on the land. But I could not gather the courage to accept prasad there. Observing this, Guru Maharaj indirectly instructed me by quoting our previous acharya, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Swapacha grihete magiya khaibo pibo saraswati ja puline puline gada gadi dibo kori Krishna kolaholo. I shall eat by begging from the homes of the untouchables and drink water from the Saraswati river. I shall roll on the ground on the river's bank, loudly calling out Shri Krishna's names. Hearing Guru Maharaj's words and perceiving his heart's desire, I placed a couple of grains on that flat rice in my mouth, with his line of vision for his pleasure. Once I accompanied Guru Maharaj and many other devotees on his preaching tour to Tejpur, Assam. There, Sri Bhagavat Prasad, the owner of Darang Tea Estate, who belonged to a Vaishya family, invited all the devotees to honor Prasad in his home. When someone was inquiring which devotees would be going, I replied, "I won't go as I'm feeling unwell. I will stay here." No one understood that the real reason I declined the invitation was that the strong previous impressions and hard knots binding my heart allowed me only to accept prasad at the house of a Brahman and not at the house of a Vaishya. Guru Maharaj, however, read my mind and thus quoted a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila 20:57 for my welfare. Kushti vipreramani pativrata shiromani pati lagi koila vishyar seva. The wife of a Brahmin suffering from leprosy established herself as the topmost of all chaste women when she served a prostitute in order to please her husband. Externally, it appears as if the wife of the leprosy-stricken Brahmin served the prostitute. But indeed, she actually served her husband by doing so. Reading between the lines, I understood that Guru Maharaj was instructing me. Rather than laying emphasis on honoring the Vaishya host's invitation for his satisfaction, I should accept the invitation, viewing it as an opportunity to associate with and render service unto Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas by fulfilling their desire, as the latter is more important. Realizing this, I went to the house of Sri Bhagavat Prasad and accepted prasad there, convinced it was appropriate. In this way, my most compassionate Guru Maharaj severed every last knot in my heart, one by one, with great patience. Man, these are so nice. I want to read them all. Okay, but they rang the prasad bell. Actually, you know what, guys? I should stop now because I have things to do, and I should leave here at 9 o'clock. It's 8:24 right now, and I should leave at 9 o'clock so that I can be there by 10 o'clock to do kirtan. So I'm going to stop now, but this is so nice. I want to read more tonight. So yeah, I think I'm going to read some more of these tonight. I don't know what time. I'll just come on at a random time tonight to read more. But yeah, if you'd like to see these, the way you can find it is you go to vcvani.com and then see resources here. Just go under resources. And then there, it says under resources is remembrance and separation. Right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. I'm just looking at Rup Manjari Didi's comments here. But his whole point. Yeah, the Smarta standard. Let's see, what I found really inspiring from all this is how he did everything so carefully. Like, so, everything that he did was a really big deal. And so, whatever he did held so much weight because he followed it with so much, like, firm resolution um, and so, like, his coming to eat with the Vaishnavas, like, every time that he followed one of these instructions, it was something that took many years of deliberation and like yeah, it was really, everything he did was so powerful because of how um, like, for me, just going to eat with the Vaishnavas is like, whatever, I'll eat with anybody. I'm like, but with him, it held so much weight, every activity that he did, because, yeah. But yes, this is also his lila to demonstrate what is the highest conception. Yes, for sure. Hi, Jai Srila Gurudev, Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Swapashad Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Swapashachi Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashachai Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. All right, so I'll see you later on, sometime this evening, hopefully. And then from tomorrow, we will continue our Śrīmad Bhagavatam reading. So tomorrow, on the day after tomorrow, is Guru Purnima and Srila Sanatana Goswami's disappearance day and the beginning of Chaturmas. So we'll also have to read about Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad. But I'd also like to read Śrīmad Bhagavatam that day because it's good to begin Chaturmasya with Śrīmad Bhagavatam. That's when we started this program, the daily Bhagavatam reading, right? A couple years ago. All right, Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all later on. Hari Bol.